Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man Score Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm starting off my Midnight Terrors marathon with four truly disturbing real horror stories. So, without further ado, I'm gonna turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys. Let's get this reaction on the road in the bag. Okay, here we go.
When I was 15, my life was pretty chaotic. I bounced around from house to house, sometimes even out of state, staying with whoever would take me in. I didn't go to school. I had my reasons. But it meant I spent most of my time wandering around alone, avoiding any adults who might try to get me back on track. I didn't really have a place to be, so I just killed time wherever I could. That day, it was around 1 p.m., and I was hanging out at a random apartment complex I had wandered into. There was a small gazebo in the middle of the lot, tucked away between some buildings, so I sat down, smoking, and just watching the world go by. It was quiet, just the occasional sound of a car in the distance, some birds in the trees, but otherwise not much happening. Then I noticed a white van with tinted windows. At first, it was just driving by, nothing weird. But then, I saw it again, and again. By the third time it passed, I started paying attention. By the fifth time, I knew something was wrong. By the seventh lap, I was done sitting there waiting for whatever was coming next. I stood up, grabbed my stuff, and started walking toward the sidewalk that led out to the main road.
I know you just wandered off to clear your head, basically. But if you go somewhere like that, I would have gone with friends. Yeah, they were scoping the place out just to see if there was anybody there to kidnap easily. So they did the right thing getting up and leaving before they decide to park their vehicle and come out to get him.
As soon as I did, I heard it, tires screeching. I turned just in time to see the van flying down the hill, coming straight for me at full speed. My heart dropped into my stomach. I barely had time to process what was happening before my legs took over. My feet slammed against the pavement, my breath caught in my throat, and I was running faster than I even knew I could. The van was right behind me, and I knew if I tripped or hesitated, I was done.
Yeah, because once they see you have fallen down on the ground, they're going to stop their vehicle and get out and grab you. Makes you wonder who they are. They are just random kidnappers or human traffickers. You never know. But let's continue on with the story.
I had two choices. I could keep running straight, but the road was long, open, and empty. If I wasn't fast enough, he'd run me down. Beyond that was just a forest, dark, dense, and nowhere near safety. Or I could turn left, into a thick hedge that I had no idea what was on the other side. 1,000 thoughts hit me at once. You're not fast enough. He's bigger than you. He will catch you. And just like that, my body turned left, as if some unseen force pushed me into the hedge.
Almost like a guardian angel looking after you. You dive yourself into the hedge bush real quick. They will not know where you went to.
I felt branches whip against my skin, thorns tearing at my arms and legs. But I didn't stop. Just as I made it through, I felt something yank my hoodie, hard. Whoever grabbed me let go. I hit the ground hard, tumbling through the dirt and leaves, my body stinging from scratches and cuts. I spun around and saw him on the other side of the hedge, standing there, his van parked on the curb with the engine still running. That was the first time I got a good look at him. He was in his mid-30s, wearing cut-off jean shorts, white sneakers, and a trucker hat. His sunglasses hid his eyes, but I could feel his gaze locked onto me. His face was clean-shaven, except for a mustache. He was breathing heavy, like he'd just put effort into trying to grab me, and I realized in that moment, he had been trying to pull me back through the hedge. For a few terrifying seconds, we just stared at each other. Neither of us moved. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, my chest rising and falling with each shaky breath. Then, he lunged forward, trying to push through the hedge. The thorns stopped him. He cursed under his breath, pulled back, then tried again. Every time he got caught on the branches, he'd curse louder, frustrated, like he couldn't believe this was the thing stopping him. I didn't stick around to see if he'd figure it out. I turned and ran. I ran faster than I ever had before, ignoring the burning cuts on my arms and legs, ignoring the way my lungs screamed for air, ignoring everything except getting the hell out of there. I don't even remember how far I ran, just that I didn't stop until I was sure I was safe. Eventually, I found someone who called the cops. And guess what? They did nothing. They asked if I had gotten a license plate number, which, obviously, I hadn't. They asked if I could describe him in detail, and when I did, they just nodded, like it wasn't anything urgent. They told me to be careful and said they'd keep an eye out.
I hate cops like this. They just get mad at you for not getting the license plate number, or the description you gave them would match just any other random dude. It's like they don't have a care in the world. I would at least taken his statement down and take it more seriously, because you never know, that guy might be able to strike again. But that was clever on your part to sneak into the bush and evade him from grabbing you, because if he did, who knows what he could have done to him.
But I could tell they weren't going to do a damn thing. And that was it. No follow-up, no investigation, no justice. To this day, I think about that moment, that hand on my hoodie, the split-second decision to turn into the hedge, the way we stared at each other through the branches. If I had hesitated even for a second, I don't think I'd be here telling this story. When I was around 12 or 13, my family and I used to travel to the US a lot during school vacations. In my country, our break runs from December to February, so every year we'd spend a few weeks in Florida, usually splitting time between Miami and Orlando. One particular day in South Miami, we were at a small mall called Sunset Place. It was just a normal shopping trip, nothing out of the ordinary. At some point, I needed to use the restroom, and since my mom and sister were on another floor, my dad took me downstairs where the bathrooms were. He told me to go ahead while he waited right outside for me. I stepped into the empty restroom and headed straight for the last stall, locking the door behind me. Everything was quiet, just me sitting there, minding my own business. A few seconds later, I heard footsteps. Someone else had entered the bathroom. I didn't think much of it at first, just assumed it was another shopper or someone else who needed to use the restroom. Then, the footsteps stopped, right in front of my stall. I froze. At first, I thought maybe he was using the urinal, but something felt off.
He's not going in there to use the bathroom. He was coming in there looking for you.
I looked up, and through the small gap between the door and the stall, I saw a pair of eyes staring right at me. This man was peeking through the door, trying to get a look at me. I didn't know what to do. I was just a kid, and my brain didn't fully process what was happening, but I knew it was wrong. I quickly looked down and pretended I hadn't seen him, hoping he'd just go away. But he didn't. Instead, he stepped into the stall next to mine. At that point, my gut was screaming at me that something was very, very wrong. I could hear movement from his stall, shuffling, heavy breathing, and then, clear as day, he moaned loudly, saying, "Ay, que rico." Even though I didn't fully understand what it meant at the time, something inside me panicked. I knew I had to get out of there, fast. I pulled up my shorts as quickly as I could, barely even taking the time to button them, and bolted out of the stall. My heart was pounding as I pushed the bathroom door open and ran outside. The second I was out, I spotted my dad standing nearby, completely unaware of what had just happened inside. I didn't say anything. I didn't know how to. I just stood there, trying to catch my breath.
I mean, you could tell him that there was a crazy guy that walked in there and he did not use the bathroom. He was just standing right next to your stall. I mean, that's all you got to say. He'll be waiting by the bathroom entrance just to see Who was bothering you?
trying to make sense of why I felt so scared. At the time, I didn't fully understand what had just happened in that bathroom. But as I got older, as I learned more about the world, I finally put the pieces together. That man wasn't just some random guy using the bathroom. He was in there for one reason, and one reason only. And I was his target. I think about that day a lot now, about what could have happened if I had frozen up longer, or if I had stayed in that stall. I feel lucky that I got out before things escalated, because I now understand just how bad that situation could have been. And honestly, it makes me angry. Angry that my dad was right outside but didn't come in with me. He had always accompanied me to the restroom in public places, but this was one of the few times he didn't. I know he probably didn't think anything of it, but looking back, I wish he had come in, because that experience stayed with me. And I hope that for any parents hearing this, it serves as a lesson. Never assume your kid is safe just because you're nearby. Don't leave them alone, even for a second, because sometimes it only takes a second for something to go horribly wrong.
Amen to that. Like you said, you don't know who is going to walk into the bathrooms and your kid is in there. Could be a stalker, child predator, kidnapper. You never know. I'm glad he did the right thing and just bolted.
It happened when I was 16, almost 17, living with my mom and my little brother Ryan, who was around 7 at the time. My mom worked night shifts at a nursing home, which meant I was the one watching Ryan most nights. He'd usually be in bed by 8 p.m., and I'd just chill, watch TV, scroll on my phone, eat whatever junk food we had. Nothing unusual, just another quiet night alone. We lived in this small one-story house that sat right on the edge of some thick woods. It wasn't completely isolated, but we didn't have many close neighbors either. Most nights, I actually liked having the house to myself, until this night. The first thing that happened wasn't even that big of a deal, at least not at first. It was around 11 p.m., and I was in bed, mindlessly scrolling through my phone, half asleep. That's when I heard it. A soft shuffling sound, like someone was dragging their feet on the carpet. I froze. Ryan was asleep. Mom wasn't home. I held my breath and listened. For a second, there was nothing, and I started to think I imagined it. But then, there it was again. A slow, deliberate scuffing sound coming from the living room.
Oh, don't tell me somebody just broke into his house and he don't even know it yet. I mean, if you hear a scuffing noise on the carpet, like somebody's walking on it, get up and hide. Because you never know, that person might swing open your door and might grab you.
My heart was racing. Was someone inside? Gripping my phone, I tiptoed out of my room, making sure to stay as quiet as possible. I checked the front door, locked. The windows, locked. Nothing looked out of place. But then, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The hall closet door was open, just a crack. We never left that door open. Ever. I stood there, my skin crawling, trying to convince myself I was overreacting.
No, you're not overacting, dude. Someone's literally hiding in the closet but forgot to close it all the way. I would be going hiding in another room and calling 911 just to see if they could get that person out of there.
Maybe I just forgot to close it earlier. Maybe Ryan had been messing around before bed. Something in my gut told me that wasn't it. Against every ounce of common sense, I reached for the door handle and yanked it open. Nothing. Just coats, shoes, and a few old boxes. I actually laughed at myself. I was being paranoid. Still, just to be safe, I locked the closet door before going back to bed. It got worse. A few nights later, I woke up suddenly, my body stiff. At first, I wasn't sure why. Then I heard it. Breathing. Not from outside. Not from the hallway. Inside my room. Every muscle in my body locked up. I felt like if I moved, even breathed too loudly, something horrible would happen. I reached for my phone, hands shaking, and turned on the flashlight. The beam swept across my room, illuminating my dresser, my desk, my closet. My closet. The door, which I always kept shut, was now open an inch wider than before.
Okay, maybe he was looking in the closet in the hallway and forgot to close it all the way. And then when you were out of your room, he snuck into your bedroom real quick. This would be the perfect time to run out of your room and call the cops before he decides to make a run for it.
There was nothing there. No one standing in the doorway. No obvious sign of anything strange.
What?
But the feeling didn't go away. I barely slept for the rest of the night. I started feeling watched all the time after that. You know that prickle on the back of your neck when you just know someone's looking at you? That was constant. Then, about a week later, my mom came home early and woke me up. She looked off. She asked me, "Why was the back door unlocked?" My stomach sank. I knew for a fact I had locked it the night before. I didn't argue. I just nodded and told her I must have forgotten. But in my head, I knew I hadn't. That night, I felt like my skin was buzzing with nerves. I kept my phone in my hand, my bedroom door locked, and tried to convince myself I was being ridiculous. Then, I woke up again. That same gut feeling. I turned my head toward the closet. It was open wider this time. I lifted my phone and turned on the flashlight just in time to see the door swing open another inch. And that's when I saw him. There was a man crouched inside my closet, skin pale as hell, hair greasy and matted. He was too thin, like he hadn't eaten in weeks, and he was grinning at me. I don't even remember getting out of bed. 1 second I was staring at him, the next I was slamming my door shut and sprinting to Ryan's room. Ryan woke up crying as I grabbed him and bolted out of the house, my hands already dialing 911. The cops showed up fast. They found him still in my closet. Turns out, he had been living in our crawl space for weeks. He got in through a loose vent in the basement and had been sneaking into the house at night, watching us sleep, taking food when we weren't looking. But the worst part? When they pulled him out, they found something tucked behind my coats. A knife. The cops said he was probably waiting for the right moment. I try not to think about what would have happened if I hadn't woken up that night.
Okay, I'll be creeped out to the point I don't want to live there no more. Yeah, he must have been one crazy homeless man on a lot of drugs. And since they saw the knife in his closet, he probably was planning on killing somebody. But I'm glad he did the right thing, grabbed his baby brother, and called the cops to get that guy out of there. Your instincts was right, even though you probably thought you were losing it, thinking you locked everything. Turned out to be a homeless guy. Man, he should have told his mom about all that before this happened.
This happened about a year and a half ago. Summer 2023 had been going great for me. I had just found success with my online business, which gave me the freedom to travel around Europe while working remotely. My plan was to explore new places, visit friends who were studying abroad, and save up for my ultimate goal, buying farmland. I started the year in Malta, enjoying the sunshine and relaxed lifestyle, then moved on to Budapest, where I met up with some old friends. By early summer, I made my way to Bulgaria to visit my friend Ben, who was studying medicine in Varna. It was an interesting city, a mix of old Soviet-style buildings and a lively beach town atmosphere. Expats, university students, and tourists filled the streets.
Hey, I'm happy he's able to travel abroad like this with his online business. And the fact that he said he wanted to save up money to buy farmland. Hey, I'll do that too, but not just a farm, just for the country lifestyle and have a lot of land to do whatever I want to on it. That's a dream I keep on wishing for, but hopefully, maybe one day I'll get there. But let's continue on with his story.
And it felt like a great place to unwind. I spent my days at cafes and on the beach, and my nights hopping from one beach club to another with Ben and his friends. Life felt easy, and I didn't have a single worry. That evening, we were out at one of our usual spots by the beach, drinking and dancing with a big group of people. The night was warm, the music was good, and everything felt normal. But after a long day, exhaustion finally hit me. It was around 4 a.m. when I decided to call it a night. A couple of people also left around the same time, and we walked together for a few minutes before splitting off in different directions. My apartment was about a 15-minute walk away, and I had done this walk plenty of times before. People had warned me about occasional robberies or attacks, but I never really took them seriously. The city still had people out at all hours, and I always made sure to keep my headphones low enough to hear my surroundings. I entered a small park I often cut through on my way home. It wasn't one of the main beach parks, just a quieter one with sparse lighting, benches, and a few overgrown bushes. As I walked in, I noticed a guy sitting alone on a bench up ahead, staring at his phone. That wasn't unusual. Plenty of people stayed out late. What caught my attention, though, was the movement behind him. Someone was creeping through the bushes, moving slowly, deliberately. At first, I thought it was just another person walking through the park. But then I saw the way they were positioned, stalking. Both of their hands were raised above their head, gripping something, a rock. Before I could even fully process what was happening, the person lunged out of the bushes, sprinting toward the guy on the bench. He lifted the rock, aiming straight for the man's head. The guy must have heard my footsteps because, at the very last second, he looked up and saw his attacker. Without hesitating, he let out a terrified scream and bolted, jumping over another row of bushes and disappearing into the street. The attacker froze for a moment, realizing he had lost his original target. Then he turned his gaze toward me. I barely had time to react before he lifted the rock again, grinning like a maniac, and started running straight at me. Panic shot through my entire body. I spun around and ran. I had no idea where I was going, just that I needed to get the hell away from him.
Yeah, you definitely do need to get away from him. He's probably going to be mad now since you made his original target get up and move, which that was a good thing. I know that guy didn't want to lose his light that night, but then now he had to go chase after him with a rock. Oh, run until you find a dark alleyway or something. And then when he runs right by, get up and go.
His footsteps pounded behind me, and every time I glanced back, he was still there, gripping that damn rock. I took random turns, zigzagging through the streets, trying to lose him. It felt like he had been chasing me forever, though it was probably just a minute or two. Then, out of sheer luck, I spotted a small kebab shop with the lights still on. Without thinking, I sprinted inside, slamming the door behind me. The workers behind the counter looked up, startled, as I gasped for air, trying to explain what had just happened. But before I could even get the words out, the guy appeared outside the shop, his face twisted in a crazed grin. He didn't try to open the door. He just lifted the rock and smashed it against the glass. The whole shop went silent as the impact echoed through the tiny space. Then he hit it again, and again. On the fourth or fifth strike, the glass cracked, then shattered completely. And then, just like that, he turned and ran. I stood there for a moment, still shaking, still trying to process everything. After a few minutes, I decided to head home, taking the longest route possible and avoiding the park at all costs. I locked every door and window the second I got inside, then lay awake for hours, still running through what had just happened. The next morning, my jaw ached. At first, I thought I had clenched it too hard while running, but then I realized I had actually fractured a tooth from grinding it in my sleep. That's when it really hit me, how close I had been to something truly awful. Later, I found out that just a year earlier, in that same park, someone had been murdered, bludgeoned and stabbed multiple times. I have no doubt that if I hadn't walked into that park at that exact moment, the guy on the bench wouldn't have seen his attacker in time.
Well, thank God you were in that area at that time to not only save that man's life, but to escape with your own. Let's put it that way. Sneaking into that kebab shop was the right thing to do, but always got to be careful if you're sitting on a park bench in a lit trail area, because you never know if somebody like a stalker or a killer might be around. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications for more Midnight Terrors content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Corner channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. I say that's a wrap, and have a nice day all.